Many thanks indeed for staying with us. Let's get to take a look at the papers. We have Igor Akereha joining us live from our Abuja studios to do some analysis and commentaries. Igor, good to have you join us this morning, and thank you indeed for joining us on the program.
Absolutely. Good morning. It's a pleasure.
All right, let's take a look at some of the dailies this morning and get to see which of them would perhaps be getting your attention and analysis. Let's begin with the leadership. We see here CBN targets $1 billion monthly diaspora remittances next year as Tinubu orders clamp down on regulated digital currencies. We know how this funds, how essential, how pivotal they are to our economy. But you see the target of the CBN there, $1 billion. Igor, is this realistic?
Well, on the surface, it will appear to be realistic. If you look at the number of Nigerians that are outside of the country, yes, it could be realistic. But again, it is tied to the willingness of the Nigerians in diaspora to actually remit some of these funds. You know, how many Nigerians are coming back home with the kind of news that they get about their country? Is the country safe? Are their relatives here safe? What is the state of the economy? What is the state of infrastructure? And all of that. So the government is always looking at the positive side, where it can generate funds, get money. We are talking about the 5% fuel tax and all of that. So government is not just about trying to rake in money, trying to look for ways of getting funds in. It's also, the government should also be interested in the welfare of the people. Yes, it looks like a tall ambition, but it is realizable if the government itself also puts the right pegs, in the right place back home to encourage Nigerians to, to either visit during Christmas or send money back home. I think the whole idea is also about trying to defend the dollar, with that kind of money coming in, maybe the naira can be strengthened against the dollar. But again, that is not a good economic policy. It's not a strategy. The strategy should be, moving away from consumption to production. But overall, the government is just being ambitious.
Mr. Akereha, we will continue to talk about this money part as long as we can. But before we leave the leadership newspaper to go to another daily, there's some headline just hidden somewhere, just beneath the rider on the main story. 2027, more governors will join APC, says Yewata. That's the APC national chairman. Well, it looks like the APC is quite confident, for whatever reason, that governors of perhaps the PDP this time will be joining them. I was taking a roll call of the losses of the PDP since the APC came into being. If you count the 5 that left during the merger, led by Rotimi Amechi, and you add Matawale, former Governor Matawale of Zamfara, said that's 6, and then you had the 2 people that left the PDP during the tenure of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, that's Ben Ayade and Dave Umahi, that should be 8, and then you now add the current ones, Sheriff Oborowori and Umayan of Akwa Ibom State. That's, PDP has lost about 10 governors in about 11 to 12 years. So what do you make of this constant, movement of governors to the APC and their reception for them?
Well, many Nigerians who are watching what is going on, are a bit, are baffled about, the trend, the political trend in the country, where you have governors who are the chief executives of their states actually leaving their party on which they won elections to move to the opposition party and then become a member of those parties. But there are political dynamics that drive these decisions. For example, the governor of my state, Sheriff Oborowori, has consistently maintained when he moved over to the APC that, prior to the 2023 presidential elections, there was a general agreement that the presidency should shift to the south, and that as governor of Delta State, and I think that is also the thinking of some of most South-South governors, that the president who is from the South needed to be supported, so to succeed in light of, the political amalgam, the movement in the North. Most Northern politicians are moving to the ADC, and so it is almost becoming a political struggle between the North and South, which again is very unfortunate that our national politics has descended into the arena of regional politics. But I think those are some of the considerations. And then trying to align the oil-bearing states with the center to attract development and all of that. Those were the issues that were raised as the South-South governors moved over to the ruling party. But again, if you look at the flip side of it, for me, I try to evaluate political ideology. Where does ideological inclination of Nigerian politicians stand? If you're a public office holder, a politician, I would think that for you to be a member of a political party, you are comfortable with the ideological leaning of that political party. And, so moving from your own party to another party, whose ideology may be at variance with the original ideology of your own party. That is something, for me, I have not been able to reconcile. But politicians have their way of doing their things. It is about, no permanent enemy, but just permanent interest. It's about political alignment. So we'll see what happens. But with regards to whether more governors are going to leave the PDP to join the APC, for me, I even think that some governors are trying to leave the APC and move to the opposition political party. But we'll see how all of this play out.
Well, the dynamics ahead of us, Mr. Akerega, is going to be quite interesting. And just to help you, and I've constantly said this, and I'll continue to say it, and I'm waiting for any governor, any politician, any person, even the president, to challenge me on it. Nigerian political parties are not driven by ideologies. Let's just keep that conversation for another time. They are driven by interest, and some of them have not been shy to it. So maybe we can't rule out the fact that in the future there will not be, we will not evolve to a point where we're driven by, so that you don't just wake up and move. You cannot just be this today and be that tomorrow. In terms of ideology, that's what ideology constricts you, restricts you.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I must make the point. Jeffrey, I must make the point that this is where the National Assembly comes in. If the National Assembly does not make laws, to govern even the behavior of politicians who are members of political parties, we are going to go over this over and over again. It is high time we have the parliament sitting down to look at it. Once you are a member of a political party, you have to stay and stick with your party, whether you win elections or not. If we say we are modeling the American style democracy, then you do not have Republicans jumping over to the Democratic Party in the U.S. or Democrats moving to the Republican Party or the Green Party and all of that. So for us to strengthen our democracy, we must get to the point where there are laws forcing politicians to remain in their political parties.
I'm like, Mr. Akerega, which of the politicians will sign the law that will restrict the politician from defect?
In this country, we copy with
challenge. Who will sign? Okay, that's a discussion for another day. Daily Independent is our next daily that we'll look at with Mr. Akerega. FG rules out immediate enforcement of 5% fuel tax. Says it's not new tax created by Tinubu administration. Perhaps it's off the conversation we had and reinforced by the administration. Said this has to come from the pronouncement of the Minister of Finance. Of course, he has to look at what is playing out in the polity. But Nigerians are saying we have been taxed too much already. We are taking care of our electricity, we're taking care of our roads, sometimes we're taking care of water. The list is long. Levies being paid on the road. So whatever great intent it is that you have this 5%, please throw it into the dustbin. Look for ways to maintain FEMA, leave us out of it, or you generate your money and leave us out of it. What do you make of this?
Well, the government must be very careful not to further incense Nigerians. Nigerians already are experiencing multi-dimensional poverty, and a whole lot of people are suffering. Sometimes I wonder, I just returned from Lagos State yesterday, and that is the commercial heartbeat of Nigeria, with so much money. Lagos State gets the, you know, if you look at whether it's the IGRO or the federal allocations going to Lagos, it's about the highest. But all the roads, almost all the roads in Lagos State have potholes, including the BRT lanes, all of the roads. If you look at the suburbs of Lagos State, whether it's in the Kurudu, Ekpe, and some of those adjoining towns, there are no roads. They are clearly impassable. So, and then if you then look at federal roads, coming to the federal level, if you want to commute from Abuja, you know, to deep into southern Nigeria, whether you're going to the south, southeast, or even the southwest, there are no roads, no connecting roads. As we speak, Kogi State, from Kogi to Edo State, is completely cut off. From Edo to Warri in Delta State is cut off. Nobody can commute on the roads. So what is the government talking about? Once upon a time, they said billions of naira were taken out of the NNPC post to fix roads, to fix federal roads. Yet we still have budgetary allocation to fix these roads. And the government is taking loans. Now, in the last time I look at the loans that the Tinubu administration has taken, they're taking about 6 tranches of loans. What are these monies used for? At a time that even the government is also telling Nigerians that oil production has been ramped up and we are getting more petrodollars, you know, arising from oil sales. So where are all these monies? If we can't fix our roads, we can't adequately deal with security issues, we are not producing, we are just consuming. So exactly, and then we can't also fix electricity. So what exactly are we doing as a nation? Nigerians are tired. If you look at in Nepal, what's happening in Nepal, these are some of the things that drives public anger, even though we don't subscribe to that. But I think, you know, these are sensitive issues that the government must begin to pay attention to. It's becoming quite worrisome and disturbing.
Absolutely, Mr. Igor. It's a big challenge for us as a nation. And when you look at the infrastructure, you think that, well, that's one sector that needs urgent attention. But take a look at the New Telegraph. It centers on power. It says, no Nigerian should die due to power interruptions, says Tinubu. Vows to fix power outages in hospitals, overhaul health facilities. And then we also hear that hospitals spend 180 million naira monthly on electricity. Minister, invest in nursing education for economic growth, nurses tell government. So from infrastructure, roads, to the issue of power, Mr. Igor, well, the president is vowing to fix that particular issue because it's a big challenge for us as a people. Industries, businesses, SMEs, and all of that. We rely heavily on power. You think that can be done in the next 2 years, or he needs perhaps another 4 years to fix the power sector?
Well, the president appears to be telling Nigerians the right things that they want to hear. But what the president is saying is not aligning with what Nigerians are experiencing. The president did say during his campaign that if he does not fix electricity, then Nigerians should not vote for him again. Now he's repeating it that he's going to address the challenge of you know, power outage, power disruptions, and all of that in the polity. He has about 1 year and 8 months to go. You know, don't forget, by next year it will be politicking, even though it has started in earnest. So the president has to walk his talk. He probably means well for Nigerians, but Nigerians have not seen a practical demonstration of the benefits accruable to them from the various policies of this government. So it is not enough to talk. People want to also see the dividends of what is being said. Severally, the national grid has collapsed. Most Nigerians now resort to solar energy. They try to supply their personal power from solar energy. They provide their water. People get their premises. You know, that's also a way of providing security for themselves. So the Constitution is very clear that the purpose of government is security and welfare of citizens. So the president is saying this morning, perhaps in the next 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, we want to see stability in the power sector. In the health sector, as he has said, we want to see hospitals well equipped, you know, with sufficient power, so that people do not die, you know, from lack of oxygen or lack of power to our health facilities.
I was just going to ask, staying with the power sector, because in some parts of Lagos, for instance, the island, there are people who are in Band A, and they don't get to feel what the other Nigerians are feeling. They have 24 hours power supply. So for them, I mean, it's okay. The power sector is working for them. So I wonder if you think that we can replicate what we see in some parts of the island precisely, and some parts of the mainland to other parts of Nigeria. And then I wonder if you think that we can pay for it, because it's one thing to have that power for 24 hours, you know, as much as you want it, but you have to pay, and pay heavily for it.
No, but the point to be made, the point to be made, you know, that is discriminatory power politics supply. You know, if you say people, I'm on Band A in Abuja here, for example, and I pay so much, I pay through my nose. How much is my salary? How much is my income? So most Nigerians, and the AEDC didn't seek my permission to ask whether I'm interested in being in Band A or Band B or somewhere. They just classify a residential area and say the residents here are supposed to be on Band A. And then they slam you with the bills. So it means that it is possible to supply, you know, regular power to Nigerians. But again, because of our capitalist economy, where you try to target people and get income from them, whilst you segmentalize the populace and say, okay, maybe this group of people cannot pay for these services. You know, so for me, that is discrimination. It's power supply discrimination, right, which is also not a good policy on its own.
All right.
Well, this power matter. But I'm also on Bani, and I've never... I'm also on Bani, and I've never been happy with that Bani because of I can never be excited about the amount that leaves the account every month compared to what it was. But it's where we are. Let's hope that what they call creaming effects in pricing will happen when it starts high and then it begins to go down. Now we're even hearing that a lot of people are getting off the grid because of the expensive tariff or power, the cost. They're not doing solar, they're doing all sort of alternative energy. Perhaps that's also a good thing so that we don't rely on one entirely. But for you and I who can still afford a few things or the other, maybe. But for the people who cannot, that's where we really need to speak up for them, that no matter what they are. That's why we'll commend some of the effort by the REA for some of the things they've done, and they need to keep doing it so that people that are the low-income earners will be able to be part of the system, because the system is supposed to protect all of us. According to Section 16 of our Constitution, everybody, what they call the principle of state policy, is supposed to be able to protect as many vulnerable people as possible. The Constitution is as clear as crystal. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper, Mr. Kerega. A couple of stories here, but let's begin with the big one. So you see all the big faces, the big names there. FG under pressure as DMO blames FX global shocks for rising debt. So you can see the leadership of the National Assembly, Speaker and Senate President. Then you see the President at the middle. You see the Finance Minister and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And then the DG of the DMO, Debt Management Office. And, you know, because there has been this argument as, you know, the President have come out to say, look, we're doing pretty well. The numbers look good for us. In fact, it's, you know, our budget is about, say, 54.9 or so trillion. Let's just call it approximately 55 trillion. Revenues accruing to us should come to about 36, and the other balance is a deficit. And under that, I think the non-oil sector is supposed to bring in about 15 trillion or so. And the president said, look, we've generated 20 trillion by August, and most of it came from the non-oil sector. So as far as the non-oil sector is concerned, we're good. We're not borrowing money from the local banks, so the crowding out effect has actually reduced. But on the other hand, we now see conversations around new borrowing. So that escalated a lot of conversation. People are now saying, what's going on? So this is their explanation, that the big numbers of about 140-something trillion, not necessarily because of new borrowings, because of the exchange rate and the depreciation of the naira. What do you make of the back and forth, Mr. Kerega?
Well, I think this is also part of the challenge that the government is having. The government is having to deal with the negative perception of most Nigerians about the economic policies of this government itself. If we have the 2025 fiscal budget that is almost 55 trillion, how does that percolate to the ordinary man on the streets? Are we seeing the effect? That is the question, the natural question that you know, the common Nigerians would ask. And then, of course, if you also listen to what the Speaker of the House of Representatives said, Tajuddin Abbas, when he actually expressed concern about the rising debt profile of the country and then the borrowings. That is, the Speaker is clearly the number 4 citizen in terms of the political hierarchy of this country, coming from him, and he's a member of the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. That calls for concern. He appears to have sounded the alarm bell. So what the government is telling us appears to be at variance, and then we are beginning to see cracks looking at what the Speaker is saying. Now, if the non-oil sector has the government, from what it says, by August that it has, you know, about 20 trillion naira has accrued to the government. What has been done with this 20 trillion? Which of the sectors has this money been invested or, you know, used to address critical challenges of the sector, such that Nigerians can feel the positive impact? So it is not just enough to reel out figures and then regale Nigerians with these figures. It's also about the daily lives of the average Nigerian, whether it is impacting on them. And just yesterday, I was having a conversation with a colleague. And we said, look, just a few years back, the Ghanaian city and the Francophone countries that are our neighbors, they come to do business with Nigeria, and everybody wants to lay their hand on the naira. Today, as we speak, the CFA, which is the currency of the Francophone countries around us, and the Ghana cities, you know, the value is far, far higher than the naira. Yeah, just this morning, as I already report, the government is, oh, the naira has made some gains. It is now exchanging for 1,525. No, I don't understand the metrics, the economic metrics that the government is using to measure its so-called achievements. I think the government needs to sit down, review and reevaluate its economic policies, such that the value of the naira must reinvent itself, such that it can compete with global currencies. That is the only way to look at a prospering economy. Once your naira has no value, the naira, as we all know, that it has been floated, so it is still floating, and it is difficult for the purchasing power itself of most Nigerians have been grossly affected, and it is driving up inflation, and production, internal production is not adequate. Most multinational companies have pulled out of Nigeria. Many have moved to Cote d'Ivoire, to Ghana, and you know, they just produce there and then bring the finished products back to us to consume. So the government must look at the policy that can reattract these multinationals back, so that we can produce. As we speak, Nigeria is one of the biggest countries in Africa that consumes vehicle tires. Yes. We don't have any tire manufacturing company in Nigeria. So these are I think the government should look at policies that can reattract these companies back to the country to show up the value of the naira. Mm.
Well, the APC-led government will also argue that Nigeria's economy needs very surgical, serious or severe surgical operation, and so they're working, they are fixing it. Perhaps they need more time to do that. They'll tell you how the 16 years of the PDP left so much damage, and so they're trying to fix the economy. But it's a fine place to leave it. Thank you indeed for analysis and commentaries, Mr. Igor Akerega, member, Nigerian Guild of Editors, live for us from our Abuja studios. Thank you indeed for your time.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.